Hey everyone, this is Larry Boyle reporting on the Inquire project number 3 for CEP 806. One of the goals for this project was to communicate the process of solving the 3 challenges that were given to us. Just a short time ago, communication with technology was limited to a few ideas and funneled to us using instant messaging, chat rooms, and emails. Now, communication has grown to include virtual spaces, blogs, wikis, Facebook, and tweets. For the Inquiry project, we are using 3 forms of communication: synchronous, which is done in a chat room; asynchronous, which is done with a threaded discussion; and face-to-face, which is done in person. The gears inside my head started to turn as I thought about accomplishing the challenges. I wanted to start off with a good base for communication and was trying different approaches to solve this problem. I noticed that my funnel, which channels the communication, could be turned upside down and used as a base to allow my communication to rise. When I told my son about the tower I was going to build, he suggested that I build it like the Eiffel Tower. The first project was to construct the tower using 20 pencils and an unlimited amount of rubber bands as tall as we possibly could. Communication was performed synchronously with my partner, Nick Myers, in a chat room using Facebook as an instant messenger. Knowing that the base of my tower would determine how well I would accomplish the challenge, I started building my base before Nick and I started to talk online. I next completed the base by making it into a triangular pyramid. Once Nick and I started to talk in the chat room, I uploaded the pictures showing how I built the base. Nick liked the idea of using the pyramid as the base, as his wasn't as sturdy as he would have liked. I started to build the main part of the tower by rubber banding the ends of pencils together using 2 rubber bands. I learned quickly that in order to have the pencils stand upright, I would have to use 3 rubber bands to ensure a more secure main shaft of the tower. During this time of building the main shaft of the tower, I was able to communicate with Nick immediately only a few times. Usually my hands were twisting rubber bands around the pencils and were unable to type. The main shaft of the tower was put into the top of the pyramid and secured at the bottom to the triangular base. I am 6 feet tall and would have been able to make the tower taller, but I decided to attempt the bonus challenge and have an object supported at the top of the tower. The pros of synchronous chat were: I was comfortable and relaxed in a setting that I am familiar with. Being able to communicate with another classmate and getting immediate feedback left out the anxiety of doing the challenge correctly or not. The cons of the synchronous chat: the visual representations were not immediately available and took a while for pictures and/or video to be uploaded. Most of my build required 2 hands and made typing awkward trying to hold part of my tower together while chatting with Nick. Being able to concentrate while having too much noise is a problem for most, although having too little noise creates quite a disturbance for me. An asynchronous chat was used in the second challenge, which was to build a catapult out of pencils and rubber bands that would launch a ping pong ball. This would be completed as a threaded discussion on our class's Facebook page with Nick Myers. For the past 9 years during the springtime, my physical science class was assigned the task of building a catapult to launch a golf ball a distance of 35 and 70 feet. I incorporated ideas from a number of catapults that were built for me in the past in my own design. I designed my catapult to have a structure similar to that of a swing set. Having triangles as support for the sides and a pencil connecting the triangles, the shape of the catapult started to appear. The catapult was too flimsy, so a square base added some rigidity. Cross braces on the base were also added after pulling the arm down to simulate a launch and realizing that the entire catapult started to twist with the applied tension. From time to time, Nick and I posted comments to the discussion board, along with pictures to show our progress. I asked Nick what we needed the toothpicks for, which he replied to hold the ping pong ball. I didn't have a ping pong ball, so I used a foam ball that's from the Jack-in-the-Box restaurants. Gathering some toothpicks, I constructed a basket to hold the foam ball, finishing the construction of the catapult. My first launch landed 13 feet away, and for the next 5 launches they had an average of 13 feet as well. However, starting with this first launch in the video, my distance plummeted over the next 3 launches. Numerous tries later.
Alright, one more time. We are trying to get the catapult here. Bonus try. Go ahead and shoot it. Hey, what do you know? First try. Thanks.
That was the first try on that take, not the very first try. In review of our first form of communication, synchronous chat, the pros were being comfortable in the setting in which the project was taking place, and being able to interact with someone that could give immediate feedback. The cons were visuals being misrepresented, having to try to type while constructing the tower, and being too quiet. For asynchronous chat, the pros and cons from the chat room were switched. The visuals seemed to get posted as a group of photos. Having 2 hands free and having quiet to do most of the work without being interrupted was a great positive note. I was too comfortable in the challenge, making the catapult the longest to complete out of the 3 challenges. The human interaction was limited, so exploration into each other's thoughts and ideas was limited due to the not so immediate feedback. Our last challenge was a face-to-face interaction. We were to construct a device to protect the raw egg when dropped onto a hard surface from a height of 8 feet. This challenge is a project that I also have my physical science students do. These are a few of my students' projects from this year. We were able to use a balloon, 2 sheets of paper, 4 foam eggshells from an egg carton, and an unlimited amount of Scotch tape. My design would have the egg taped in between a balloon and the foam eggshells. Attached to the balloon by Scotch tape will be the 2 pieces of paper that will act like a parachute. Even though I can only use 2 pieces of paper, I tried to think outside the box. To make my parachute cover more area, I cut the paper into strips and taped them together using the tape as a spacer. By cutting the paper into strips and taping them together, I was able to increase the length of a sheet by 6 inches. The other sheet of paper was cut into strips and used as a border. The egg gets taped to the balloon, and finally the parachute gets attached to the balloon by tape. My wife turned off the camera before videotaping the design on the ground, but the egg did crack when it hit the garbage can. We went inside and looked at the design and the guidelines for building it. She asked why I didn't use the toilet paper tube in the design. I didn't realize that we could use one, so I quickly fastened the tube between the foam eggshells and the egg to add protection from impact. Now back up to the roof to try once more.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Put this one in order. 3, 2, 1.
The balloon popped. But it looks like the egg survived, but the balloon popped.
It is here. Raw egg.
In reviewing the pros and cons for synchronous chat and asynchronous chat, I learned that they seem to me to be mirror images of each other. The face-to-face communication, on the other hand, seemed to only change the 2 of the items. Since I've seen my students doing this project for the previous 9 years, I had many ideas to build my project on. My wife knew that I've done this project before and was wondering how I was going to build it. I showed her my drawing, which she didn't fully understand, but she knew I had an idea in my head and that she let me do all the work. Therefore, the human interaction and feedback was minimal. In conclusion of our inquiry project, synchronous chat worked very well with verbal communication. However, it interrupted the hands-on part of the challenge and also lacked visual communication. Asynchronous chat allowed me to work at my own pace while communicating when needed, but the feedback and interaction was almost non-existent. Face-to-face works great for finishing the project relatively quickly, but if I was to get graded on how well I taught or included my wife, I would have failed, which sometimes happens when group work occurs. This concludes my inquiry project for CEP 806. Thanks for listening.